Jonathan Young.
Mr. Speaker, well, I do trust that my contribution can be a bit of sense amongst the triviality of that last speech that I'm sure that people who have been listening to this debate have been appalled by. Mr. Speaker, we who have worked through this piece of legislation in the Commerce Committee believe that this will make a significant difference to the businesses in our nation, which is what this bill is about. It's about nothing that the previous member spoke on. It's actually about bringing some relief and some lift of financial and regulatory burden to those businesses out there, to those New Zealanders, to those hard-working people who want to see this Parliament effective in helping them. And I think, Mr. Speaker, that that is what this Parliament wants to do and what the people of New Zealand want this Parliament to achieve. So I believe that we, in progressing this bill here in its third reading, all the 13 separate bills that have come together in this omnibus bill, relieving what the Minister described as niggles, and we've surely had enough niggles here today regarding this, is going to be something which I think New Zealanders may not see the huge, massive impact of major legislation, but will receive the benefit of all the smaller changes that take place, that in the end will have a significant benefit in the bottom lines of businesses, which in the end is going to release more funds, more finance, more profits to businesses that is going to help with employment, better public services, and in the end a better way of life for New Zealanders. So what is good for business has got to be good for New Zealand. We believe that less but better, not just less is better, but less but better regulation is essential to boost New Zealand's productivity, its growth, international competitiveness and living standards. Yeah, well, certainly I don't think you read your speech across the House there, and certainly I would say that the content of this speech is probably a lot more substantial than the content of the previous one. Mr. Speaker, what New Zealand needs is a better policy environment, which is the very good reason why we have National as the leading party in this government, because we are bringing a better policy environment for businesses in New Zealand that's going to create the economic advantage that we need. We live so far away from most of our markets. We live so far away from the great populations of the world with our isolation here, our geographical distance, that it's imperative and important that we have a very good, robust, positive, attractive policy environment in order to retain talent, that mobile talent that can go anywhere in the world. And we know that all New Zealanders do an OE, and of course we hear the haranguing around that. But, you know, many New Zealanders go overseas and then return with global skills, global connections. All of that brings an improvement into our capability of our businesses here in New Zealand. And so, Mr. Speaker, it's important to have this environment which attracts people to business in this country. And in fact, back in April, Mr. Speaker, Bill English went to Australia, and there many Australian businesses were very jealous of the environment that has been created here in New Zealand. And we know that investment is coming this way. And, Mr. Speaker, it is because of what we are doing. It's because we are working through systematically the regulations that work in the business sphere in particular, that we are working through this systematically to identify those areas that are redundant and those areas that are constrictive, and with a determination that we are going to have regulation that is robust, that is essential, that is reasonable and has rigorousness about it, and that we are going to remove also those redundant pieces of legislation that just clutter the business environment. All of these are part of our plan to improve the environment for New Zealand businesses. We touched on this last night as we went through Part 5, where we looked at the Films, Videos and Publications Classification Act 1993. And just a very simple measure is going to bring significant savings to that industry. So instead of having to take a DVD slip out of its cover and then adhere a rating classification on it, that they are now able to print this at the source of supply, and this is going to make a significant saving to them. And the comment has been made that we could have progressed this bill a little bit faster, but I understand in order to bring that benefit to people. But I understand that industry, that area of the industry, approached the previous government year after year, and then finally they thought this is a good idea. And so it's taken a long time to bring that sort of relief and that sort of benefit to that sector. So, Mr. Speaker, it is important that these things happen. In order to build this better policy environment, in order to bring the success that people aspire to in this country. So, Mr. Speaker, we believe that better regulation and less regulation is essential. This is what we are working on as a government. Mr. Speaker, the results, one of the changes that we have made is a new system for assessing the health of New Zealand's regulatory regimes. This will help improve economic performance over the longer term. The results of preliminary assessments are included in a report called Best Practice Regulation Model, Principles and Assessments, which was released on the Treasury website this month, August 2012. This new model for assessing major pieces of regulation considers whether each regime gives appropriate weighting to factors that can help improve economic performance, competition, innovation, exports, compliance costs, and trade and investment openness. Mr. Speaker, in 2009, the government statement on regulation made two major commitments. We said we will introduce new regulation only when we are satisfied that it is required, reasonable and robust. And the second commitment is that we will review existing regulation in order to identify and remove requirements that are unnecessary, ineffective or excessively costly. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm very pleased to stand and support this bill in its third reading. Thank you.
Claire Curran.
Thank you, Mr.